I remember my first DIY e-bike build. I spent weeks wrestling with a cheap, unbranded kit that promised the world but left me stranded halfway up a hill with a fried controller and stripped gears. Choosing the right e-bike conversion kit is a nightmare of confusing specs, compatibility issues, and hidden costs that drain your wallet. But it doesn't have to be. Today, I'm revealing the top 7 e-bike conversion kits that actually deliver. From budget nightmares to premium plug-and-play miracles, which one will finally transform your bicycle into a powerhouse? Let's find out. 7. Bafang BBS 0248V 750W Mid-Drive Kit. When I first unboxed the Bafang, I was genuinely impressed by the sheer weight and solid metallic feel of the motor unit. This is a mid-drive system, meaning it replaces your bike's bottom bracket and leverages your existing rear cassette to apply power. Setting it up on my hardtail mountain bike was an experience that required a specialized bottom bracket wrench, a crank puller, and a whole lot of patience. You really have to get your hands dirty with this one, dealing with zip tying a massive wiring harness to your frame and carefully aligning the speed sensor on the rear wheel. Taking it out for the first test ride, the raw power of the 750-watt motor is undeniable. Because it utilizes your bike's gears, you can drop into a low gear and climb incredibly steep hills that would completely stall out a standard hub motor. It transforms a standard bicycle into a very aggressive machine, and using the thumb throttle to pull away from stoplights feels absolutely exhilarating. However, this power delivery isn't exactly what I would call refined, and it relies on a basic cadence sensor rather than a torque sensor. That basic cadence sensor means the motor gives you power based solely on whether the pedals are turning, not how hard you are pushing. I noticed a distinct and frustrating lag. You start pedaling, and a second later, the motor forcefully kicks in, often jolting the bike forward. When you stop pedaling, it keeps pushing for another second, which can be genuinely terrifying if you are navigating tight, technical trails or trying to weave through dense city traffic. 6. Vastrom Tongsheng TSD Z2B Mid-Drive Motor Kit. Unlike the BBS-02, this motor features a built-in torque sensor, which is a massive upgrade in terms of ride feel. The installation process is fairly similar to the Bafang, requiring you to remove your bottom bracket and slide the motor through, though I found the wiring harness to be slightly less obtrusive and easier to manage. The moment I hit the pavement, the difference in the torque sensor was night and day. The Tongsheng motor measures exactly how much physical effort you are putting into the pedals and multiplies it smoothly. If you pedal lightly, it gives a gentle assist. If you stand up and mash the pedals, the motor surges to match your effort. It genuinely makes you feel like you just developed bionic legs, preserving the authentic feeling of riding a bicycle rather than feeling like a passenger on an electric moped. However, as I pushed this motor harder during my testing, some glaring limitations quickly became apparent. While it claims to be a capable mid-drive, the actual peak power output feels noticeably weaker than its Bafang rival, struggling to maintain speed on extended, steep gradients. More concerning is its tendency to overheat. After about 20 minutes of aggressive hill climbing, I could physically feel the motor housing getting dangerously hot, and the system actively started dialing back the power to prevent a total meltdown, severely crippling my momentum. Furthermore, the mechanical design leaves a lot to be desired for serious riders. The main gear shaft has a notorious reputation for fragility, and during my time with it, the pedals developed a slight, annoying play that I couldn't tighten out. 5. Ebike 48V 1500W Direct Drive Ebike Conversion KIT. Unboxing this kit reveals a massive, incredibly heavy rear wheel with an oversized hub motor laced directly into the spokes. Because it is a direct drive system, there are literally no moving parts inside the motor housing other than the sealed bearings, No planetary gears, no clutches, just giant magnets and copper coils. Installing this rear wheel onto my donor bike was a bit of a workout due to the sheer unsprung weight of the motor, but it was mechanically much simpler than messing with bottom brackets. You absolutely must install the included torque arms though. During my initial setup, I realized that the 1500 watts of raw rotational force would easily snap the rear dropouts right off an aluminum frame if they weren't properly reinforced. Once securely bolted down and wired to the massive external controller, the bike looked like a serious urban assault vehicle. Out on the open road, this kit is an absolute revelation in terms of top speed. With the throttle pinned, this motor silently and effortlessly pushed me past 30 miles per hour on flat ground without breaking a sweat. Because there are no internal gears to whine or grind, the ride is remarkably quiet, offering a smooth, jet-like acceleration that is incredibly addictive for highway commuting or long stretches of open bike paths. It turns steep hills into minor inconveniences, overpowering them with sheer wattage rather than mechanical leverage. One of the best features I tested on this direct drive system is the regenerative braking capability. Whenever I squeezed the brake levers, the motor instantly reversed its polarity, acting as an electronic brake that significantly slowed the heavy bike down while trickling a bit of charge back into the battery. 4. Bafang 48V750W Electric Bike Conversion Kit. At first glance, this motor looks much smaller and stealthier than the Ebike, hiding neatly behind the rear cassette. The installation was straightforward, requiring me to swap the tire over, mount the new rear wheel, and run the waterproof wiring harness up the frame to the beautifully bright, easy-to-read Bafang LCD display mounted on the handlebars. The magic of this motor lies in its internal planetary gear system. During my test rides, I found that these internal gears allow the motor to spin at high speeds internally while turning the wheel at a normal speed, which generates a fantastic amount of torque from a relatively small package. It punches off the line with surprising authority, getting me up to cruising speed incredibly fast. It strikes a beautiful balance, offering enough power to confidently tackle moderate hills while remaining efficient enough to not instantly drain the battery. What I absolutely loved about testing this specific geared hub is the internal freewheel clutch mechanism. Unlike the massive direct drive motors that drag on you when you let off the throttle or turn the Bafang system completely off, the internal motor completely disengages from the wheel shell. I spent an entire afternoon pedaling this setup with the battery switched off, and it honestly just felt like riding a slightly heavy, completely normal bicycle with zero magnetic resistance fighting my legs. This kit represents the ultimate sweet spot for the everyday commuter or recreational rider. It doesn't chew through your bike's drivetrain like a mid-drive, it doesn't add a ton of unsprung weight to your rear end, and it works flawlessly in almost all weather conditions. 3. Switch MAX. When the Switch MAX kit arrived at my workshop, I was instantly captivated by its completely different approach to e-bike conversion. Instead of a massive rear wheel or a complex bottom bracket replacement, Switch provides a custom-built front wheel with a surprisingly tiny hub motor and a sleek, compact power pack that mounts directly to your handlebars. Their marketing claims you can install it in under 10 minutes, and putting that to the test, I was shocked to find that they were actually telling the truth. I simply removed my old front wheel, dropped the switch wheel into the front forks, strapped the pedal sensor to the crank arm with a clever universal mount, and bolted the battery bracket to the handlebars. The brilliance of this design is in its absolute simplicity. There are no massive controllers to zip tie to the down tube and no complex wiring harnesses to route. Everything is integrated flawlessly into the handlebar mount and the battery itself, keeping the bike looking remarkably clean and factory-made. Taking it out for a spin, having a front-wheel drive bicycle is a unique and incredibly fun experience. When the pedal assist kicks in, It feels exactly like someone is gently pulling you forward by the handlebars. It handles city streets and paved trails beautifully, providing a zippy, lightweight boost that completely flattens out moderate headwinds and gentle inclines. Because the motor is so small and the battery is positioned up front, the bike maintains a nimble, agile handling characteristic that heavier kits completely destroy. 2. Bafang HD 1000W Mid-Drive Kit. Unboxing this massive unit, the sheer scale of the cooling fins and the thick, heavy-duty casing instantly tells you that this motor means serious business. Installing the BBS HD is just as involved as the smaller BBS02, but you are instantly aware that you are bolting a high-performance, off-road capable engine onto your bicycle frame. I mounted this beast onto a fat tire mountain bike, upgraded my chain to a heavy-duty e-bike specific chain, and hit the most aggressive dirt trails I could find. The torque this motor produces is genuinely mind-bending. Rated at a massive 160 Newton meters, I found myself effortlessly clawing up loose, rocky inclines that I wouldn't even attempt on a dirt bike. When you hit the throttle in a low gear, the BBS HD threatens to pull the front wheel right off the ground, delivering an adrenaline-pumping surge of absolute dominance over the terrain. Unlike its smaller brother, the BBS HD was engineered specifically to solve the durability issues of high-power mid-drives. Inside the massive casing, Bafang replaced the fragile nylon gears with much wider, reinforced steel components, and the 30-amp controller is built with robust MOSFETs that can handle sustained, heavy loads. I intentionally pushed this motor hard on a long, punishing uphill climb in the summer heat, and the external cooling fins did their job perfectly, keeping the motor running flawlessly without a hint of thermal throttling or burning smells. This is the ultimate kit for anyone building a heavy-duty cargo bike, a dedicated hunting rig, or a high-speed off-road machine. It does completely overpower normal bicycle components, meaning you will go through brake pads and cassettes much faster than normal. But the trade-off is a level of performance that rivals expensive, high-end factory electric mountain bikes. 1. Scarper Click on e-bike. When I first got my hands on this, I could hardly believe the engineering. Instead of driving the wheel or the pedals, the Scarper motor drives the bicycle entirely through the rear disc brake rotor. To install it, all I had to do was unbolt my standard rear brake rotor and replace it with their proprietary disc drive rotor, which features a cleverly designed secondary track for the motor to engage with. The absolute magic happens when you attach the motor. The entire system, motor, battery, and controller is housed in a single, sleek, aerodynamic unit that looks like a futuristic wedge. I simply aligned it with the specially designed chainstay bracket, and it clicked securely into place with a solid, satisfying lock. In literally 3 seconds, I transformed a high-end, lightweight gravel bike into a fully functioning e-bike without adding any drag, changing the wheels, or running a single wire across the frame. The ride quality is nothing short of revolutionary, because the Scarper uses a high-tech wireless sensor attached to the cranks. The power delivery is exceptionally smooth and incredibly responsive. As I pedaled through the city, the motor silently grabbed the inner track of the disc brake rotor, seamlessly propelling the bike forward. What blew my mind during testing was that my standard hydraulic brake caliper still functioned perfectly on the outer edge of that exact same rotor, offering uncompromised stopping power while the motor did its job. The portability and flexibility of the Scarper system are unmatched by anything else on the market. Outro. And that's all for today, folks.